Gabriel Bear Thompson had played Mall Santa for 11 years, ever since his daughter Melissa died of leukemia at age 7. And he'd heard thousands of Christmas wishes. But at 3:47 p.m. on December 22nd, when 6-year-old Autumn Rose Keller climbed onto his lap and said, "Santa, my sister Claire asked you for help last year. You didn't come. Please don't let Daddy make me go away too." The massive Hell's Angel realized he'd been given a second chance. Because 18 months ago, another little girl had sat on this same Santa throne. Had whispered about being scared. And Bear had thought she was just nervous about Christmas. 3 weeks later, Claire Keller was gone, officially adopted by relatives nobody could verify. Now, her sister was here. Begging. With 5 days until December 27th, what 150 Hell's Angels discovered next would prove that sometimes the most dangerous predators wear the most trusted faces. Before we continue, please hit that subscribe button and let us know in the comments where you're watching from today. Now back to Autumn's story. Santa, my sister Claire asked you for help last year. You didn't come. The words hit Gabriel Bear Thompson like a physical blow. He'd been adjusting his fake beard, preparing his jolly Santa voice for the next child in line, when the 6-year-old in the red velvet dress climbed onto his lap and shattered his world with one sentence. Bear's massive hand froze mid-adjustment. His other hand, the one that had been reaching for the candy cane bowl, dropped to his side. "What did you say, sweetheart?" Autumn Rose Keller looked up at him with eyes too old for 6 years. Eyes that had seen things. Lost things. "My sister Claire. She came here last Christmas. She sat right here. She told you she was scared to go home." Autumn's voice dropped to a whisper. 3 weeks later, Daddy made her go away. Just like he's going to make me go away on Friday. Bear's heart, the one that had stopped beating properly the day his daughter Melissa died, kicked hard against his ribs. His massive hand covered Autumn's tiny fingers where they clutched his red velvet knee. The other hand rose in a subtle signal. 3 fingers. Then a point toward the man standing 8 feet away, face buried in his phone. Across the fake snow wonderland of Santa's village, a man dressed in green elf tights and a pointed hat straightened. Vincent, Tiny Kowalski. 6'5", 310 pounds, ex-Army Ranger. He clocked the signal, eyes narrowing on the man in the white doctor's coat, who hadn't looked up once since depositing his daughter on Santa's lap. Bear leaned down until his face was level with Autumn's. Close enough that she could see the crow's feet around his eyes, the silver in his beard, the reading glasses perched on his nose. Close enough that when he spoke, only she could hear. "You're safe now, sweetheart. Santa's got you." He took off his red Santa hat and placed it on her head. The hat slid down over her blonde braids, too big, comical in any other circumstance. But Autumn grabbed the fuzzy white trim with both hands like it was a lifeline. Behind her, 9-year-old Ivy stepped closer. Her hand found her little sister's shoulder. Bear's eyes flicked to the older girl. Saw the way she held herself, protective, vigilant, old beyond her years. Saw the iPod Touch she pulled from her coat pocket, screen cracked but functional. "I have proof," Ivy whispered. "Recording." Bear didn't react, didn't change expression, just gave the smallest nod, Then he looked back at Autumn, at the silver heart necklace she clutched with one hand, at the marks on her upper left arm that she tried to keep hidden, at the way she'd flinched when her father had lifted her onto the lap, body going rigid with pure instinct, at the black patent leather shoes that were too small. Hand-me-downs from a sister who'd disappeared 18 months ago. How old are you, sweetheart? 6. Her voice was so small. My name is Autumn Rose Keller. That's a beautiful name. Bear kept his tone gentle, warm, everything a Santa should be. But his eyes were scanning, cataloging, recording every detail. And who's that with you? My daddy, Dr. Richard Keller. He's a pediatrician. The words came out flat, rehearsed. He's a very good doctor. Everyone says so. Bear looked past her at the man in the white coat, watched him scroll through what looked like a gambling app, saw the Rolex on his wrist, the designer jeans, the practiced smile when another parent waved at him from the Santa line. A pillar of the community. And what Autumn had just told him made perfect, horrible sense. Autumn. Bear's voice was still gentle, but there was steel underneath now. I need you to be very brave for just a little longer. Can you do that? She nodded, fingers tightening on the necklace. Tell me what you told me again. But tell me more this time. Everything you can remember. The story came out in pieces. 18 months ago, her sister Claire had been 5 years old. Strangers had come to the house. They'd touched Claire's hair, inspected her carefully, talked to Daddy in voices Autumn couldn't quite hear through the floor vent. Then Claire was gone. Daddy said she'd been adopted. Said she'd gone to live with relatives in California. Said it was better for her there. But Autumn had seen Claire crying. Had seen her trying to hold on to the doorframe while the strangers pulled her toward their car. Had heard her screaming for help. And Daddy had done nothing. He got paid, Autumn whispered. I heard him telling Miss Bryn. His girlfriend, he said, same arrangement as with Claire, then we can leave together. Bear's jaw tightened. Across the village, Tiny was already moving, phone to his ear, speaking in low, urgent tones. When is this happening, Autumn? Friday. Her voice dropped even lower. December 27th. 7 o'clock, mall parking lot. A man named Vincent is meeting us. December 27th. 5 days from now. And you know this because I heard him on the phone. Thursday night. He didn't know I was awake. Autumn's blue eyes, too worried for a 6-year-old, too knowing, locked onto Bear's. He's going to give my baby brother away too. Lucas, for a massive payoff. He thinks the younger ones are worth more to them. The words hit like physical blows. This wasn't just about one child. This was a pattern, a business model, a father systematically selling his own children to cover gambling debts. Ivy. Bear kept his voice calm, controlled. That recording you mentioned, can I see it? The 9-year-old pulled up an audio file. Hit play. The voice that came through the speaker was educated, calm, professional. The voice of a man discussing a transaction. Not a child. A product. The girl is ready. 6 years old, healthy, quiet. Same deal as last time. The voice that came through the speaker was educated, calm, professional. The voice of a man discussing an arrangement. Not a child, a transfer. Everything is set. 6 years old, healthy, same terms as before. Bear recognized that voice. The man in the white coat. Dr. Keller. The recording continued. Pickup, December 27th, evening. Mall parking lot, same location. I'll bring her for Christmas shopping. You handle things from there. Same amount we discussed. A pause. Then, the younger one is next. 18 months, no complications. Similar arrangement. You mentioned before that younger placements work better for your contacts. Bear's hand tightened on Autumn's small shoulder. Protective, anchoring. Don't worry about the mother. She gave up rights years ago, 0 contact. The system? I handled it like last time. I'll say she went to live with relatives. Doctor's word, adoption paperwork, case closed. Nobody questions someone like me. The recording ended. Bear looked at Ivy, at the determination in her young face, at the way she held herself between her sister and the world. Where did you get that? Old iPod Touch. He doesn't know I have it. I hide it in my stuffed rabbit. Ivy's voice was steady, but her hands shook. I uploaded it to the cloud, just in case. Just in case. A 9-year-old had done what the entire system had failed to do. She'd collected evidence. Behind them, Dr. Keller's voice called out. Pleasant and warm. Having fun up there, Autumn? Bear saw the way Autumn's whole body tensed. Saw her plaster on a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Yes, Daddy. Good girl. We'll get ice cream after. Your favorite. The casual manipulation. The practiced performance. The mask of a loving father. Bear had seen a lot in his 52 years. Iraq. IEDs. The Hells Angels clubhouse when things got dark. His daughter Melissa wasting away in a hospital bed while leukemia ate her alive. But this was a special kind of evil. The kind that wore a white coat and smiled at PTA meetings. Bear pulled the Hells Angels vest from under his Santa coat. Black leather, worn patches, the insignia that made suburban parents nervous. He draped it over Autumn's shoulders. It swallowed her, dragged on the floor, made her look even smaller. You know what this is? Bear asked quietly. Autumn shook her head. These are my colors. Hells Angels. You see that patch? He pointed to the embroidered skull. That means brotherhood. Family. Protection. And when someone wears a brother's colors, even for a minute, it means they're under our protection, too. He looked her straight in the eyes. Your family now, Autumn. You and Ivy, and baby Lucas, and Hells Angels protect family. That's not a promise I make lightly. That's a blood oath. Autumn's lip trembled. But Daddy's a doctor. Everyone believes him. The police believed him. The social worker believed him. My teacher believed him. I believe you, Bear said simply. And that's what matters right now. What if you can't stop him? What if he... Look at me. Bear waited until she did. I'm a Marine. Marines have a code. We don't leave anyone behind. Ever. You're not getting sold. Not Friday, not ever. Do you understand? But how? Bear pointed across the village. See those elves? Autumn turned, saw 6 massive men in ridiculous green costumes and curled-toe shoes, saw them watching her father with the focused intensity of predators. Those are my brothers. Hells Angels. Every single one of them. Bear's voice was rock steady. That one in the front? Tiny ex-Army Ranger. The one with the fake beard? That's Preacher. Used to work for Child Protective Services for 25 years. Knows every trick, every loophole. The younger one checking his phone? Wire. Best IT guy I know. He's already tracking your daddy's digital footprint. He paused. Let that sink in. Your daddy thinks he's smart. Thinks his white coat makes him untouchable. But he's never faced this before. He's never faced people who actually give a damn. And he's never faced Hell's Angels when we're protecting a kid. Ivy spoke up, voice fierce despite her youth. Claire's not in California, is she? No, sweetheart, probably not. Can you find her? Bear looked at this 9-year-old who'd been brave enough to record her father, who'd protected her little sister, who'd held on to hope when every adult around her had failed. We're going to try. But first, we're going to make sure you and Autumn and Lucas are safe. That comes first. Always. Dr. Keller approached, phone finally pocketed, professional smile in place. All done, sweetie? Did you tell Santa what you want for Christmas? Bear watched Autumn transform, watched her shoulders hunch, her voice go small and obedient. Yes, Daddy, I told him. That's my good girl. Keller ruffled her hair, the gesture looking affectionate to anyone watching. But Bear saw the way Autumn flinched, saw the control in how Keller gripped her shoulder just a fraction too tight. Bear stood, towering over the doctor, kept his voice warm, jovial, Santa-appropriate. Beautiful girls you have there, Dr. Keller. Real treasures. Thank you. Keller's smile was practiced, perfect. They're my world. I bet. Bear handed Autumn down, watching the micro-expressions. You take good care of them now. Always. Keller was already turning away, shepherding his daughters toward the exit. Come on, girls. Ice cream time. As they walked away, Bear saw Autumn glance back once, saw the desperate hope in her eyes. The question, will you really help? Bear gave the smallest nod. He watched them disappear into the Christmas shopping crowds, watched Dr. Richard Keller, pediatrician, pillar of the community, the man who'd planned to take everything from his family, blend in seamlessly with the other holiday shoppers. 3 minutes and 17 seconds. That's how long the entire interaction had taken. 3 minutes and 17 seconds to learn that a 6-year-old was scheduled to be sold in 5 days. Bear pulled his phone from the Santa coat pocket, hit the first number in his speed dial. It rang twice. Tank. Bear's voice was flat, all the Santa warmth gone. It's Bear. I need every brother within 50 miles at the clubhouse. Now. A pause. Then, what's going on? Child trafficking. 5 days to stop it. I'll explain when you get there. Bear's eyes tracked the white doctor's coat until it disappeared through the mall exit doors. We're not waiting for the cops to take their time on this one. Say no more. We're coming. The line went dead. Bear looked at the 5 elves who'd closed in around him. Tiny, preacher, wire, hound with his K-9 training, hammer with his combat medic background. Meeting at the clubhouse. 1 hour. We've got work to do. Tiny was already peeling off the elf costume. What do we know? Enough. Bear pulled off the Santa coat, revealing his road-worn leather underneath. And what we don't know yet? We're about to find out. Now you might be thinking, a Hell's Angel finds out a child is being sold, and the first move is to call a meeting, gather evidence? That's not the story you expected, is it? Maybe you're imagining 200 motorcycles roaring up to a pediatrician's office, Eddie for action, storm brewing. And maybe, years ago, that's exactly what would have happened. But Bear had learned something in his 52 years. something the Marines had taught him, something losing Melissa had burned into his soul. Rage without strategy is just noise, and noise doesn't save children. Bear's cycle shop sat on Industrial Parkway, sandwiched between a transmission repair place and a storage facility. The sign out front read, "Motorcycle Repair and Custom Work." Most people never noticed the clubhouse in back. By the time Bear pulled his Harley into the lot, 23 motorcycles were already there. He found them waiting inside. 23 men in leather cuts, patches declaring chapters and ranks, faces ranging from mid-20s to early 60s, some with gray beards, some clean-shaven, all with the same expression, focused, ready, waiting for orders. Tank, the chapter president, 61 years old, Vietnam vet, stood at the head of the scarred wooden table. "Talk to me, Bear." Bear did. He laid it out in clean, precise terms. Dr. Richard Keller, Millbrook Township pediatrician, gambling debts totaling $387,000. Previous daughter Claire sold 18 months ago for $150,000. Current plan to sell Autumn on December 27th for $150,000. Baby Lucas scheduled for January sale at $200,000. He played Ivy's recording. The room went silent. It was Preacher who spoke first. Gerald Preacher Santos, 63, who'd spent 25 years in the CPS system before he couldn't stomach it anymore. System failed these kids already, didn't it? CPS called 2 times, Bear confirmed. Keller showed fake adoption paperwork both times. Case closed. Fake paperwork from who? Don't know yet. But Wire's going to find out. Bear looked at the younger man hunched over a laptop. How long? Thomas Wire Sullivan, 37, didn't look up from his screen. Already in. Keller's phone records, bank statements, encrypted messages. Give me 3 hours. You have 2. Hound, Raymond Mitchell, 51, ex-K9 handler, raised a hand. The previous kid, Claire, any idea where she ended up? That's our second priority. First priority is stopping Friday's sale. Second is finding Claire. Third is taking down whoever facilitated this. Tank leaned back. 5 days isn't much time. It's what we have. Bear's voice was flat, final. Keller thinks he's untouchable. Doctor's word, forged documents, system already proved it won't look too close. He's counting on that. So we change the math, Tiny rumbled. Make him look closer. Exactly. Bear pulled up a map on his phone. Pinewood Commons Mall, the parking lot, the south entrance near Macy's. Friday, December 27th, 7 p.m. Keller brings Autumn for Christmas shopping. Trafficker Vincent Crane meets him in the parking lot with $150,000 cash. Exchange happens fast. Girl goes in one car, money goes with Keller. By the time anyone notices, Autumn's out of state. He looked around the table. We're going to be there first. For the next hour, they planned. Wire cracked Keller's encrypted messages within 90 minutes. Found communications with Vincent Michael Crane, 39, based in Philadelphia, human trafficker operating across 3 states, 17 documented sales over 5 years. Found bank records showing the $150,000 from Claire's sale. deposited in $9,900 increments to avoid RS attention. Spent on casino markers, loan sharks, a truck, girlfriend's apartment, found the insurance policies, one on Autumn, one on baby Lucas, both recent, both with Keller as beneficiary. "This guy's got a whole system," Wire said, disgust thick in his voice. "Takes the kids, keeps policies active in case something happens. He's covered every angle." Preacher pulled up CPS records. 2 calls, September 2023 and November 2024, both closed as unfounded. Investigator name, Denise Harmon. She in on it? No, just overworked, carrying 214 cases when the max should be 40. Keller showed her forged adoption papers for Claire. She verified the documents looked legitimate, closed the case, never followed up to confirm Claire actually made it to these supposed relatives. Bear's jaw tightened. So it's not just Keller, it's whoever's making these documents. On it. Wire's fingers flew across the keyboard. Looking for doctors, lawyers, notaries with connections to Keller. Got it. Dr. Ellen Morrison. Family practice physician, works at the same medical center as Keller. What's the connection? Email correspondence from June 2023. She's quoting him prices for documentation services, $20,000 per set. Digital forensics show she created the adoption papers for Claire. Forged signatures, backdated notary stamps, the works. Tank stood. So we've got Keller, we've got this Morrison woman creating fake papers, we've got Crane as the trafficker. Anyone else? Byers, Hammer said quietly. Mitchell, Hammer Brennan, 44, ex-combat medic. Someone tells me paid $200,000 for Claire. They're out there right now, pretending she's theirs. The room absorbed that. We find them, Bear said. But first, we stop Friday. Tank looked around the table. All in favor of mobilizing the chapter for child protection? For a moment, nothing. Just the ticking of the clock on the wall and the distant sound of traffic outside. Then, one by one, every hand went up. 23 men, unanimous. Motion carries. Tank's voice was gravely with emotion. Bear, this is your operation. What do you need? I need eyes on Keller 24/7 until Friday. I need Wire documenting every move, every transaction, every communication. I need Preacher interfacing with FBI. We're going to need federal involvement eventually. I need everyone else ready to roll Friday evening. He paused. And I need someone watching the kids. If Keller gets spooked before Friday, if he tries to move early, we need to know immediately. I'll take that, Hound said. Me and Bella. His retired police K9, a German shepherd who'd tracked missing persons for 8 years before retiring. We'll set up surveillance on Creekside Drive. Good. Tank cleared his throat. What about law enforcement? We bringing them in now or waiting? We wait, Preacher said. I've seen this play out 100 times. Right now, all we have is a recording from a 9-year-old and circumstantial evidence. Keller's a respected pediatrician. His lawyer will get him released within hours, and then we've shown our hand. He'll disappear the kids before we can build a real case. So we let Friday's exchange start, Bear said. Let Crane show up with the money, catch them in the act. Then we have attempted trafficking, not just intent. And if something goes wrong? Tiny asked. If Autumn gets in that car? Bear's voice went cold. That's not going to happen, because we're going to be everywhere. Every entrance, every exit, every possible route. They won't get a block. He looked at each man in turn. This is what we do. We protect people who can't protect themselves. We stand between the innocent and the monsters, and we don't walk away just because the monster has credentials. The meeting broke up at midnight. Bear stayed, staring at the map of Pinewood Commons Mall, at the parking lot where, in 5 days, Dr. Richard Keller would try to sell his daughter. His phone buzzed. Text from Wire. FBI Special Agent Marcus Chen. Cleveland Field Office. Handled 3 trafficking cases last year. Preacher knows him. Trusts him. Want me to make the call? Bear typed back. Not yet. Let's have everything documented first. I want to hand him a case he can't refuse. 3 dots appeared. Then, Claire's trail is warm. Found credit card records. Couple in Maryland. David and Lauren Peterson. Purchased Claire for $200,000. She's registered at a private school there as Lauren Peterson Jr. Different name, different identity. Bear stared at that message for a long time. Claire was alive. After 18 months, she was alive. Does she know who she really is? Unknown. But I found photos from the school's Facebook page. It's her. Same girl from the family pictures in Keller's house before she disappeared. Bear saved the information. They'd need it. All of it. But first they had to make sure Autumn and Lucas didn't end up like Claire. He pulled up the photo Wire had sent earlier. Dr. Richard Keller at a charity fundraiser, smiling, arm around the Hospital Foundation president. Caption: Dr. Keller raises $50,000 for pediatric cancer wing. The mask was perfect, and in 5 days, they were going to rip it off. December 23rd. 4 days until the sale. Wire worked through the night, pulling threads that unraveled the entire network. By dawn, they had names. Addresses, bank accounts, a paper trail connecting Keller to Morrison to Crane to the Maryland couple who'd bought Claire. And something else, something that changed everything. Bear. Wire's voice on the phone was tight. You need to see this, now. Bear arrived at the clubhouse at 6:47 a.m. to find Wire surrounded by 3 monitors, energy drink cans scattered across the desk like casualties. Show me. Wire pulled up a document. Life insurance policy. The policyholder, Dr. Richard Keller. The insured, Jennifer Walsh Keller. Keller's ex-wife. The bio-mother who'd supposedly left 3 years ago. Death benefit, $180,000, Wire said. Paid out in full, October 2021. Bear's blood went cold. She's dead? Death certificate lists cause as complications from pneumonia. But look at this. Wire opened another file. Policy was taken out exactly 2 months before her death. And the attending physician who signed the death certificate? Let me guess. Dr. Ellen Morrison. Bingo. Bear stared at the screen, at the dates, at the dollar amounts that lined up too perfectly. This wasn't just about taking children. This was about a man who'd taken his wife's life for insurance money, then turned to his own kids when the gambling debts came back. Does anyone know Jennifer didn't just leave? Bear asked quietly. Keller told everyone she abandoned the family, filed for divorce, signed away parental rights, disappeared. No missing person report because officially she wasn't missing. She'd filed legal paperwork. Except, Wire pulled up another document. Those divorce papers? Also forged. Morrison's work. Jennifer never signed anything. She died, Keller collected the insurance, and then he made it look like she'd voluntarily walked away. How'd he kill her? Can't prove it yet, but pneumonia complicated by underlying heart condition. Jennifer's medical records show no history of heart problems. Preacher's already calling his contacts at the ME's office. If they exhume the body, run a proper tox screen. Bear's fists clenched. How many, Wire? How many people has this man killed or sold? Jennifer dead. Claire sold. Autumn scheduled for sale Friday. Lucas scheduled for January. And I found something else. Wire opened an email chain. Keller's been in contact with Crane about Ivy, too. Messages from last week. Crane told him 9-year-olds are more difficult to place, but he could arrange something if Keller wanted. Did Keller respond? Yeah. He said he'd consider it after the other arrangements are finalized. The room went silent. This man was systematically destroying his family for financial gain. December 24th. 3 days until the sale. Preacher made the call to FBI Special Agent Marcus Chen. They met at a truck stop off I-70, neutral ground. Preacher. Bear. Tank. Chen with 2 other agents. Chen was 46, 15 years in the Bureau, specialized in human trafficking. He listened without interrupting as Preacher laid out the case. The recording, the bank statements, the forged documents, the communications between Keller, Morrison, and Crane, the Maryland couple, the insurance fraud. When Preacher finished, Chen sat back. This is solid, really solid, but it's also a house of cards. One wrong move, Keller lawyers up and disappears these kids into the system where we'll never find them. That's why we wait until Friday, Bear said. Catch the exchange in progress, attempted trafficking, conspiracy. Then it's not just documents, it's action. You want me to let a 6-year-old get within 10 feet of a trafficker? We want you to be ready to move the second that trafficker shows his face. Bear's voice was steel. Your people in position, our people in position, tight perimeter, no escape routes. The girl never leaves our sight, not for 1 second. Chen studied him. You lost someone. It wasn't a question. My daughter, 7 years old, leukemia. Bear's voice didn't waver. I watched her die because I couldn't do anything to stop it. I'm not watching another child disappear because the system moved too slow. Chen was quiet for a moment. Then, okay, here's how this works. We coordinate. My team handles the federal arrest. Your people, he looked at the Hell's Angels patches, provide visible presence. Psychological pressure, make Keller and Crane think twice about running. How many agents? I can get 12 by Friday. SWAT on standby. Local PD for perimeter control. We'll have 150 bikers. Chen's eyebrows rose. 150? I called in 4 chapters, Tank said. Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Kentucky, biggest mobilization in our history, because a 6-year-old asked Santa for help, and we're not going to let her down. Chen shook his head, almost smiling. I've been doing this job for 15 years. Never thought I'd be coordinating a trafficking bust with the Hell's Angels. First time for everything, Preacher said dryly. December 25th, Christmas Day. 2 days until the sale. Hound's surveillance caught something. At 11:34 a.m., a black Mercedes pulled up to Keller's house on Creekside Drive. The driver got out. Thin build, expensive suit, briefcase, Wire ran the plates within minutes. Vincent Michael Crane. That's our trafficker. Bear watched the surveillance footage. Crane knocked. Keller answered, smile in place, welcome warm. They disappeared inside. 47 minutes later, Crane left. Hound's telephoto lens caught him getting into the Mercedes. Caught the smile on his face. They're confirming details, Bear said. Friday's happening. That evening, they gathered at the clubhouse. Not just the original 23 now, 72 brothers from 4 different chapters. More arriving by the hour. The parking lot looked like a motorcycle convention. Harleys lined up in perfect rows, leather and chrome, and the smell of motor oil. Inside, Tank addressed the room. "We've got two objectives. 1, prevent the sale of Autumn Rose Keller. 2, expose the network that made it possible, FBI's running point on the arrest. We're providing presence and perimeter security." He pulled up a map of Pinewood Commons Mall. Friday evening, December 27th. Normal Christmas shopping traffic. Crowded. Chaos. Keller's counting on that. He'll bring Autumn in through the north entrance, shop for 20-30 minutes. Establish his story. Just a daddy taking his daughter Christmas shopping. Then they'll head to the south parking lot. That's where Crane will be waiting. Bear stepped forward. "We're going to be everywhere. Every entrance, every exit, every parking lot. Crane shows up, he's going to see what looks like a biker rally. He's going to know something's wrong. And when he tries to run, because he will try to run, there won't be anywhere to go." Tiny raised a hand. "What about the kid?" "Autumn. She's going to be terrified." "She knows we're coming," Bear said. "I got a message to Ivy through her school counselor. Told her, Friday, 7 p.m., 150 Brothers. Autumn will be safe. Just keep her calm until we move." "And Keller? If he gets spooked early? Then we adapt. But Chen's got surveillance on him starting Thursday. If Keller tries to run before Friday, we'll know." December 26th. One day until the sale. The witness testimonies started coming in. Preacher had spent 3 days canvassing Creekside Drive, knocking on doors, asking questions, listening to people who'd convinced themselves they'd seen nothing. Patricia Ann Brennan, 54, had lived 2 houses down from Keller for 8 years. School counselor at Happy Trails Elementary. She sat in Bear's office, hands shaking around a coffee mug. "I saw the signs," she whispered. "I saw them. Autumn's behavioral changes, the nightmares, the panic attacks when her dad picked her up, the drawings she made in art class, dark figures taking children away." "What did you do?" Preacher asked gently. "I called Dr. Keller in for a conference 7 months ago, May." Patricia's voice broke. "He was so professional. Said Autumn was struggling with her sister's move, said he was monitoring her mental health as a physician. Recommended I not interfere since he had it under control." "And you accepted that?" "He's a doctor." The words came out like an accusation against herself. "A pediatrician. I thought he'd know best. I thought I was overstepping." She looked up, eyes red. "I should have reported to CPS myself. I should have insisted on a home visit. I should have." Her voice cracked. "I failed that child. I trusted him because of his credentials, and I failed her." Preacher took notes. "Would you be willing to testify to this?" "Yes, God, yes, whatever you need." Dale Robert Crawford, 39, Millbrook Township Patrol Officer. He'd responded to Judith Keller's call in November 2023. The grandmother worried about her missing granddaughter, Claire. "I did a welfare check," Dale said, sitting rigid in the folding chair. "Went to Keller's house. He showed me adoption paperwork, photos of Claire at her new home. Seemed legitimate." "You didn't follow up?" "No." Dale's jaw tightened. "I didn't. Keller said his mother had early dementia. Said she kept forgetting they'd told her about the adoption. I believed him. Filed the report as welfare check completed, family intact, grandmother mistaken." "Why didn't you verify the adoption through official channels?" "Because it was easier not to." The confession came out flat. "Because I didn't want the paperwork. Because doctors don't usually lie. Because I was lazy, and I took the path of least resistance." He looked at Bear. I enabled a trafficker because I didn't want to make my shift complicated. That's the truth. And I'm going to have to live with that. Frank Douglas Morrison, 47, Millbrook Recreation League Director. 3 months ago, Ivy Keller had told her basketball coach, "My dad is going to make Autumn go away like Claire." The coach had reported it to Frank. Frank had called Keller. "He told me Ivy was having behavioral issues," Frank said, voice hollow. "Fantasy problems. Said he'd pulled her from school for homeschooling so he could monitor her better. Asked if I needed league support. I said no, told him I trusted him to handle it." "You didn't report to authorities?" "No. I was scared of being wrong." Frank's hands twisted together. "What if I accused a pediatrician of something like this, and it turned out to be a misunderstanding? What if I destroyed his reputation over a 9-year-old's imagination? I chose my reputation over that child's safety." He met Bear's eyes. "I'll testify. I'll tell everyone what a coward I was. If it helps put him away, I'll do it." The final witness was the hardest. Judith Marie Keller, 68, Richard Keller's mother. She sat in the clubhouse looking 20 years older than her age. "He's my son," she whispered. "My baby boy. I didn't want to believe. I couldn't believe." Preacher's voice was soft. "Tell us what you saw, Judith." "Claire disappeared last June. Richard said she'd been adopted, sent to live with Jennifer's family. But Jennifer's family hasn't spoken to Richard in years. They hate him. They'd never take Claire." "What did you do?" "I tried to call Jennifer, to ask. But Richard had blocked her number on my phone. He said she was toxic, said I was being manipulated." Judith's voice shook. "I wanted to believe him. He's my son. I chose family loyalty over my granddaughter's life." She looked up, tears streaming. "If I'd pushed harder, if I'd called the police myself instead of trusting Richard's explanations, if I'd been brave instead of comfortable, Claire might be home. Autumn might not be scheduled to be sold tomorrow." She pulled an envelope from her purse. "I found this yesterday, going through Richard's old room at my house. He left a box there 6 months ago, said it was just old medical journals." She opened it. Dot inside. USB drive. I don't know what's on it, but it's hidden for a reason. Wire took the drive, plugged it in. What they found made everyone in the room go silent. Spreadsheets, client lists, communications between Crane and other sellers. 17 families, 17 children sold over 5 years, and every single transaction, Crane had kept records. Dates, amounts, buyer names, locations. It was the entire network. "This is it," Chen said quietly. He'd arrived an hour earlier for final coordination. "This is everything we need. Not just Keller, the whole operation." He looked at Judith. "Ma'am, your son is going to prison for a very long time. Multiple life sentences. He'll never see daylight again." Judith nodded, crying silently. "Good." December 27th. The day. At 3 p.m., the motorcycles began arriving at Pinewood Commons Mall. Not all at once. That would have been too obvious. 5 bikes here, 7 there, 10 at the south lot, 12 at the north entrance. By 5:30 p.m., there were 150 Harley-Davidsons scattered across 4 parking lots. A casual observer might have thought it was a rally. A coincidence. Just bikers doing their Christmas shopping, but anyone paying closer attention would have noticed the coordination. The way the riders stayed in visual contact with each other, the way they positioned themselves at every entrance and exit, the way they waited. FBI SWAT was in unmarked vans. Local PD had 12 units staged 3 blocks away. Chen and his team wore civilian clothes, blending with shoppers. Radios hidden. At 6:47 p.m., Dr. Richard Keller's white BMW pulled into the north parking lot. Hound's voice came over the radio. "Target acquired. Subject exiting vehicle with minor female. Appears to be Autumn." Bear watched from his position near the south entrance. Saw Keller hold Autumn's hand as they walked into the mall. Saw the practiced smile, the perfect father-daughter image. Saw the black patent leather shoes that were too small. "All units, target is inside. Maintain positions." For 43 minutes, Keller shopped. Hit 3 stores. Bought Autumn a stuffed rabbit. The kind of detail he'd use later to prove this was just a normal shopping trip. The whole time, brothers tracked them. 12 bikers inside the mall, pretending to shop, always maintaining visual contact. Tiny, dressed in jeans and a hoodie, stood near the food court. "Kid looks calm, holding it together." At 7:28 p.m., Keller headed toward the south exit. And in the parking lot, a black Mercedes pulled into a space near the Macy's entrance. Vincent Crane got out, looked around, saw the motorcycles. His face changed. "Crane's spooked," Chen's voice said over the radio. "He's getting back in the vehicle." "All southern units, move to interception positions," Bear ordered. "Don't let him leave." 20 Harleys roared to life simultaneously. The sound was deafening. Beautiful. Crane froze, hand on his car door, as the motorcycles formed a loose semicircle around his Mercedes. Not blocking him, not threatening, just present, leather and chrome and the weight of judgment. Inside the mall, Keller came through the south exit with Autumn. He saw the motorcycles, saw Crane's panicked expression, saw Bear standing near the door, 6'4" in his Hell's Angels vest. Their eyes met. And Keller knew. He grabbed Autumn's arm, too tight, painful, and turned to run back inside. But Tiny was there, blocking the door, not touching, not threatening, just standing. "Going somewhere, Doctor?" Keller's voice was smooth, professional. "Excuse me, my daughter and I need to—" "FBI, hands where I can see them." Chen and 4 agents came from 3 directions at once, weapons drawn, badges up. "Dr. Richard Thomas Keller, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit human trafficking, attempted sale of a minor, insurance fraud, and suspicion of homicide. You have the right to remain silent." Keller's professional mask cracked. "This is a mistake. I'm a doctor. I'm just shopping with my daughter. This is—" "Save it," Chen said. "Vincent Crane's already in custody. So is Dr. Ellen Morrison. We have your communications, your bank records, the forged documents, the USB drive. We have everything." Keller's face went white. An agent moved forward with handcuffs, and Autumn, standing 3 feet away, watched her father's hands get pulled behind his back. Watched the cuffs click closed. Watched the man who'd planned to sell her get pressed face first against a police cruiser. Bear knelt beside her. "You're safe now." Autumn stared at her father. At the man who'd killed her mother. Sold her sister. Planned to sell her and her baby brother. "Is it really over?" "It's really over." Then she did something that broke every heart watching. She walked to the police cruiser, stood on tiptoes, spoke through the window where Keller sat, face ashen. "Claire's real name is Claire Elizabeth Keller, not Lauren Peterson. And Mommy didn't leave us. You took her from us." Keller's eyes widened. "We know everything, Daddy. Ivy recorded you. The bikers found Claire. The FBI has proof." Her voice was small, but steady. "You're never going to hurt anyone again." She turned back to Bear. "Can we go get Lucas now? And Ivy? I want my family together." Bear picked her up, settled her on his hip like she weighed nothing. "Yeah, sweetheart. Let's go get your family." Behind them, 150 motorcycles sat silent. 150 men watching a 6-year-old who'd been brave enough to whisper for help, watching justice finally show up, not because the system worked, but because someone listened. The arrests happened in sequence, each one surgical and precise. Vincent Crane, attempting to leave the parking lot, found himself surrounded by FBI agents and 150 motorcycles. He was on the ground, cuffed, and in custody within 90 seconds. The briefcase he'd been carrying contained a substantial amount of cash, neatly banded. Evidence so clear, even his lawyer went pale. Dr. Ellen Morrison was arrested at her home at 8:14 p.m. Agents found her at the kitchen table, ironically enough, filling out medical charts. On her computer, template files for fake adoption documents, bank statements showing $80,000 in cash deposits over 18 months. Email correspondence with Crane detailing pricing for forged paperwork. She tried to claim she'd been helping families. "Private adoptions," she said. Completely legal. The digital forensics said otherwise: forged notary stamps, backdated signatures, documents created for children who were never legally available for adoption. By midnight, David and Lauren Peterson were in custody in Maryland. FBI agents found Claire, now calling herself Lauren Jr., in a pink bedroom decorated like a princess castle. She'd been with them for 18 months. Long enough to forget she'd ever had a different name. Long enough to call them Mom and Dad. The Petersons claimed they'd thought it was legal. "We paid for a private adoption. We had paperwork." The bank withdrawal records told a different story. A large cash payment. No attorney involved. No home study. No court approval. Just money exchanged for custody. They'd known exactly what they were doing. Autumn, Ivy, and baby Lucas were placed in emergency protective custody that night. Not with strangers, not with the system that had already failed them twice. With Judith Keller, their grandmother, who'd finally found the courage to fight for them. CPS expedited the placement within hours. Preacher, with his 25 years of system knowledge, navigated every piece of paperwork, every requirement, every signature needed. By 2 a.m., the 3 children were asleep in their grandmother's house, truly safe for the first time in years. Judith stood in the doorway of the bedroom where Autumn and Ivy slept. Lucas in the portable crib beside them. "I failed them before," she whispered to Preacher. "I won't fail them again." "You won't," Preacher said. "Because you're not alone this time. You've got 150 brothers backing you up. Anything you need: rent, food, therapy bills, school supplies. You call us." That's the deal. "I can't afford—" "It's not about money. It's about family, and they're family now." The legal proceedings moved faster than anyone expected. Keller was charged with conspiracy to commit human trafficking, attempted sale of a minor, insurance fraud, forgery, and first-degree murder in the death of Jennifer Walsh Keller. The DA's office, armed with Wire's documentation, Ivy's recording, testimony from 4 witnesses, and Crane's decision to flip for a reduced sentence, built a case that was airtight. 3 months later, Keller stood trial. It lasted 4 days. The jury deliberated for 97 minutes. guilty on all counts. The judge, a woman named Patricia Hendricks, 61, who'd spent 30 years on the family court bench, delivered the sentence with a face carved from stone. Dr. Keller, you were given a position of trust. Parents brought their children to you for healing. Your community looked to you as a pillar of moral authority. You used that trust to commit acts of unspeakable evil. You were responsible for her death. You sold one daughter. You attempted to sell 2 more children and would have succeeded had a 6-year-old not been brave enough to ask for help. She paused. This court sentences you to life in prison without possibility of parole on the murder charge. An additional 30 years for trafficking conspiracy, 20 years for fraud, sentences to run consecutively. You will never breathe free air again. Keller's face was gray, emotionless. The mask finally gone, leaving nothing but hollowness. In the gallery, Autumn sat between Bear and her grandmother. She wore a new dress, purple, her choice, and the silver heart necklace her mother had given her. When the bailiffs led her father away in shackles, she didn't cry. She just held Bear's hand tighter. "Thank you," she whispered. "You saved yourself, sweetheart. You asked for help. That's the bravest thing in the world." The other sentences came down over the following weeks. Vincent Crane, 25 years federal prison for human trafficking. He'd cooperated, provided names, locations, client lists that led to 7 additional arrests. But cooperation didn't erase 17 children sold over 5 years. Dr. Ellen Morrison, 18 years for conspiracy, fraud, and forgery. Her medical license revoked permanently. The hospital where she'd worked launched an internal investigation into how many other families she might have helped disappear. David and Lauren Peterson, 15 years each for child trafficking, conspiracy, fraud, and identity theft. When Claire was removed from their home, Lauren had cried, "But she's my daughter!" The judge's response, "No, she was never yours. She was stolen." Denise Harmon, the CPS investigator who'd closed Autumn's case without proper follow-up, wasn't criminally charged. But she was placed on administrative leave. The department underwent a complete overhaul, new protocols, mandatory home visits, verification requirements for private adoptions. It wouldn't bring back the 18 months Claire lost, but it might save the next child. Claire's return took time. She'd spent 18 months believing the Petersons were her parents, believing her real name was Lauren, believing the life before, her sister's, her real mother's memory, was just confused dreams. The deprogramming process was slow, gentle, led by trauma specialists who understood what happened to a child's mind when their identity was systematically erased. Hammer, with his combat medic background, coordinated Claire's medical care. Weekly therapy sessions, psychiatric evaluations, gradual reintroduction to her real family. The first reunion happened 3 months after the arrests, supervised, safe. At a therapy office with soft lighting and comfortable chairs, Autumn walked in and saw a girl who looked like the sister she remembered, but older, taller, hair cut differently. Claire, the 8-year-old girl, she'd turned 8 in the Petersons' custody, looked up, uncertain, scared. That's not my name." Autumn's face crumpled, but Judith was there, hand on her shoulder, steadying. "It's okay," the therapist said gently. "This takes time." "Claire, this is Autumn, your biological sister. She's been looking for you for a very long time." Claire stared at Autumn, at the silver heart necklace. I had a necklace like that. Before. Mommy gave them to us, before she died. Autumn's voice shook. Before Daddy took you away. Something flickered in Claire's eyes. A memory. Buried deep, but fighting to surface. I remember, Daddy, a different Daddy, and a car, and screaming. That was real, Autumn whispered. All of it was real, and you're Claire, Claire Elizabeth Keller, and I'm Autumn Rose, and we're sisters. Claire looked at her for a long moment. Then slowly she nodded. It wasn't a miracle reunion, wasn't instant healing, but it was a start. 6 months later, the change was visible. Autumn, 7 years old now, stood on the stage of Millbrook Elementary School's auditorium. Student council elections. She'd decided to run for class representative. The girl who'd once flinched at loud voices and kept her head down now spoke into a microphone without shaking. Hi, my name is Autumn Keller. Some of you know my story. But I'm not just my story. I'm also someone who believes we should listen to each other. Really listen, because sometimes the quietest kids have the most important things to say. She won by a landslide. In the audience, Bear sat between Judith and Ivy. He was wearing his leather vest, Hell's Angels patch prominent, and didn't care that some parents shifted uncomfortably in their seats. He'd earned the right to be there. They all had. Claire's recovery took longer, but she was getting there. She'd moved in with Judith, reunited with her sisters and baby brother Lucas, now 2 years old, walking, babbling, safe. She'd started calling herself Claire again. Slowly, one day at a time, and she'd started art therapy, drawing pictures of the house she remembered, the mother she barely recalled, the sisters she was learning to know again. One picture showed 4 kids holding hands, above them, a woman with a silver necklace smiling down. That's us, Claire explained to the therapist. That's our family. Is your mom watching over you? Yeah, and the bikers too. Claire pointed to stick figures with motorcycles in the corner of the drawing. They're like guardian angels, but loud. The Hells Angels didn't just walk away after the arrests. They stayed. Bear visited every Tuesday, took Autumn and Claire and Ivy out for ice cream, taught them basic motorcycle maintenance in Judith's garage. Life skills, he called it, though Judith suspected it was really just an excuse to spend time with kids who reminded him of the daughter he'd lost. Wire set up a college fund, seeded it with $15,000 from the club treasury. For all 3 girls and Lucas, he said. Education is protection, too. Preacher became Judith's liaison with social services, navigated the bureaucracy when she needed respite care or therapy appointments, or just someone who understood the system's labyrinth. Hound brought his retired K9, Bella, for weekly visits. The German Shepherd, trained to find missing people, had found a new purpose: therapy dog for traumatized children. Lucas loved her, would giggle and bury his face in her fur. Tiny, the most intimidating-looking of all the brothers, turned out to have a gift for bedtime stories. He'd sit in Judith's living room, 310 pounds of muscle and tattoos, reading Goodnight Moon in a voice so gentle it made grown men tear up. The club raised $42,000 through chapters across 4 states, enough to cover therapy bills, school supplies, clothing, activities. Enough that Judith could quit her part-time job and focus fully on the kids. They called it the Claire and Autumn Fund. But really, it was a promise. These kids would never be invisible again. Angel's Watch. That's what they named the program that came out of it. Preacher partnered with the FBI, local schools, and CPS to create a rapid response network for suspected trafficking cases. When a teacher filed a report, when a child showed signs, when someone whispered for help, there was now a system that actually responded. Within 6 months, Angel's Watch identified 4 other children in trafficking situations across Ohio. 4 kids who might have disappeared if someone hadn't been paying attention. The program went national within a year. 11 states adopted versions of it. Training materials, response protocols, a network of people who'd learned the lesson, listen to children, believe them, act. One of the training modules featured Autumn's story, used her words, with her permission. I tried to tell people, teachers, counselors. They all thought Daddy knew best because he was a doctor. But just because someone has credentials doesn't mean they're telling the truth. Sometimes the scariest-looking person is the one who saves you. And sometimes the person everyone trusts is the monster. Now, here's what this story is really about. It's not about bikers or patches or motorcycles, though those things played their part. It's not even about one doctor or one trafficking ring, though bringing them down mattered. This story is about something simpler and infinitely more powerful. Listening. Autumn asked for help 4 different ways over 18 months. She told her teacher. She told a school counselor. She showed behavioral signs that screamed abuse. She literally whispered her truth to a mall Santa. And 3 of those 4 times, adults who should have protected her chose not to see. Not because they were evil, because they were overwhelmed, overworked, too willing to trust credentials over instinct, too comfortable choosing the path that didn't require them to act. Patricia, the counselor, carried 214 cases when she should have carried 40. She wasn't a villain. She was drowning in a broken system. Dale, the police officer, wasn't corrupt. He was lazy. He took the easy answer because digging deeper meant more paperwork, more complications, more risk of being wrong. Frank, the recreation director, wasn't heartless. He was scared of destroying a doctor's reputation over a child's imagination. And Judith, Autumn's own grandmother, wasn't uncaring. She was conflict avoidant. She chose family loyalty over uncomfortable truth. 4 people who saw something wrong and convinced themselves it wasn't their responsibility to act. Until it was almost too late. If you've ever felt invisible, this story is for you. If you've ever spoken your truth and been dismissed, this story is for you. If you've ever been told you're overreacting, imagining things, causing drama, this story is for you. Because here's what Autumn's story proves. Your voice matters. Even when it's small. Even when it's shaking. Even when the first 10 people don't listen. The 11th might. And sometimes the 11th person is exactly who you need. There are Autumns everywhere. Kids in schools right now showing signs of abuse that teachers don't have time to investigate. Teenagers working minimum wage jobs, being trafficked by people who look respectable. Adults trapped in situations where everyone believes their abuser because the abuser has the right job title, the right social standing, the right mask. You don't need 200 motorcycles to change these stories. You don't need a Hell's Angels vest or Marine training or 25 years in CPS. You just need to do what Bear did. Stop. Listen. Believe. Act. Pay attention when someone hesitates before going home. Ask the uncomfortable questions when a story doesn't add up. Report what you see, even if you're not sure, even if it's awkward, even if people tell you you're overstepping. Care enough to be wrong. Because the cost of being wrong is temporary discomfort. The cost of staying silent is permanent. Autumn is 10 years old now. She still wears the silver heart necklace her mother gave her. But now she wears a second one too, a gift from Judith. 2 hearts, mother and grandmother, past and present. She's in 5th grade, straight A student, president of student council, volunteers at the animal shelter on weekends. She doesn't have nightmares anymore, or at least not every night. She still sees Bear every Tuesday, still calls him Santa Bear, even though it's June and there's no snow in sight. Last month, she asked him, "Do you think Melissa would be proud of you, your daughter?" Bear was quiet for a moment. Then, "I think she'd be proud of you. You're exactly the kind of brave she always wanted to be." "I wasn't brave. I was just scared and out of options." That's what brave is, sweetheart. Doing the right thing when you're terrified. Asking for help when every instinct says stay silent. Trusting a stranger in a Santa suit because something in your gut said he'd listen. Bear smiled. You saved yourself, and your sisters, and your brother, and maybe some kids you'll never meet because Angel's Watch exists now. Autumn thought about that. Can I tell you something? Always. I don't hate Daddy. I know I'm supposed to. Everyone thinks I should, but I don't. I just feel empty about him, like he was this person who was supposed to love me, and instead he was a monster, and those two things can't fit in my brain at the same time. That's okay. You don't have to hate him. You don't have to forgive him either. You just have to keep being you. Keep being brave. Keep using your voice. And if people don't listen, then you find someone who will, even if it takes 11 tries. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that heroes don't always look like heroes, if it made you believe that one voice can change everything, then do something with that feeling. Subscribe, gentle bikers. Share this story. But more importantly, share the lesson. Comment below. Who was your protector? Who listened when no one else would? Or tell me, what's one sign you'll pay attention to now that you might have missed before? Because here's the truth. The system doesn't want to admit. We're all capable of being someone's bear. The Mall Santa, who stopped and listened. The biker who mobilized 150 brothers for a child he'd just met. The Marine who remembered his code. We don't leave anyone behind. You don't need leather or chrome or a tragic backstory to be that person. You just need to care enough to act. To stop when a child hesitates. To ask questions when something feels wrong. To report what you see, even when you're not sure. To be the 11th person who finally hears the truth. Autumn's story ended with safety. With justice. With healing that's still happening one day at a time. But it didn't have to end that way. It almost didn't. If Bear had dismissed her whisper as childish fantasy, if he'd told her to talk to her daddy, if he'd been too busy, too skeptical, too uncomfortable with getting involved, if he'd been like the first 10 people who chose not to see. But he wasn't. He stopped. He listened. He believed. He acted. And 150 brothers followed his lead because that's what protectors do. Not because they're perfect, not because they're saints, but because when a 6-year-old asks for help, the only acceptable answer is, "You've got it." So here's my challenge to you, watching this right now. Be someone's bear. Be the person who listens when a child whispers the truth. Be the person who asks the uncomfortable questions. Be the person who reports what others choose not to see. Be the person who shows up when everyone else walks away. You don't need a motorcycle or a vest or a tragic loss to motivate you. You just need to remember, every child deserves to be heard. Every voice matters, and sometimes being scary-looking is exactly what a terrified kid needs, because it means you're strong enough to fight the monster wearing the nice guy mask. Autumn Rose Keller is safe now. So are Claire, Ivy, and Lucas. But there are thousands of children who aren't. Thousands of voices whispering for help in classrooms and parking lots and therapist offices and family dinners. Will you be the one who hears them? Comment, "I will listen," if you're ready to be someone's protector. Subscribe for more stories that prove ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they choose to care. And remember, the next Autumn you meet might not have 18 months to wait. She might only have seconds. Will you stop?